Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today's video will be a little cute sit down video featuring my cats in the back. That's just one of 4, but y'all are here for me, not for the cats. So I just figured I'd do a little Q&A. I've gotten separate questions in my DMs. I've gotten questions from family just about the whole IVF process, because obviously it's not a super common thing. So not everyone is really knowledgeable about it or really knows anything, and that's okay. To be honest, when we first started the process, we didn't really know much about it, obviously. Hi guys, so this is editing me. I just wanted to make a quick disclaimer that in no way, shape, or form, obviously, am I like a professional in the fertility department, or, you know, like, I don't know, like, I just wanted to make that disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes, but not like fully, like, full knowledge, you know what I mean? Like, this is just our experience with IVF. Of course, there are different options for IVF, like a fresh cycle of IVF, or you know, with 2 men that decide to do IVF and then they have a surrogate who, you know, they use her eggs with their sperm. We of course use donor sperm. And then, you know, there are heterosexual couples that just can't conceive, unfortunately, and so they use, you know, they'll use like their own eggs and the husband's sperm, and they'll do the whole process that way. But again, this is just our experience with IVF. I also am not super knowledgeable about IUI, like I mentioned, but I just wanted to make that completely clear. This is just our experience with IVF, the process that we are doing. I know there could be many other possible ways for this to happen, but this is just our story, our experience. Okay, bye. But that's what I'm here for, is to share my knowledge and to share my experience with you guys, and really just be an open book. So let's get started. I'm gonna try and make this as short and to the point as possible. I know I can be a little Miss Chatty Cathy, but I promise I will work or try my best not to be. So first and most popular question is, what is IVF? So IVF stands for in vitro fertilization, and what it is they take your, so it can be done a lot of ways, but basically they take an egg, right? Or they take eggs, as many eggs as they can get, and they either, one, will fertilize them by placing the sperm. So they put your eggs in a little petri dish, and then they take the sperm and they'll either place it in that same petri dish and let the sperm work its magic the way it naturally would and try and find its way over to the egg, push its way in, and then form an embryo. It gets fertilized, it forms an embryo, etc., etc. Or in some cases, they will do what's called ICSI. I don't know what that stands for. I can't think of it right now. But basically, it's where they inject the sperm into the egg. So instead of just like placing it in the same petri dish and letting it find its way, the ICSI is where they actually inject it into the egg, inject the sperm, and then from there, like, obviously the chances of it creating an embryo are higher because you're already putting the sperm directly in there as opposed to just letting it do it on its own. So they do that, and then from there they watch it grow into what's called a blastocyst, and once it gets to that stage, then at that point they will either, one, do the transfer to put the best looking one back into you, or in my case and some cases, they will send it off to, or I'm sorry, they'll take a little biopsy from the outside, and they'll send that little biopsy off to a third party that will do genetic testing. So they test the chromosomes to make sure, you know, that they're chromosomally normal. And then they also obviously are able to tell the gender based off the chromosomes. So yeah, so I'll get into that later. But anyway, so either they do the transfer where they put it back inside of you, or they send it off for genetic testing. After that, that takes, typically what they're telling me, we haven't gotten to that part yet, we're almost there, but what they've told me is that it can take up to 2 weeks to get those results back. So once those results come back, based on the results obviously, then you will choose again the healthy embryo, and then that's the one that they will transfer inside of you. So moving on to transfer, so what they do at that point is that little embryo, they take an ultrasound, what's that thing called, like the vaginal ultrasound type of thing, and it has like a little injector on it, and so they put that inside of you, and they have like a ultrasound on the outside of your belly too, to be able to look in, and then they inject it straight into your uterus or onto your uterus, like towards the back, and place it there. And then from there you wait, hope and pray and cross your fingers that it sticks and it starts growing, and then from there you're pregnant and you have a baby. So that's IVF. I know it's a lot of information to take in, but in easy terms, those are the steps. So they take the eggs, they fertilize them, then they watch them grow, then they transfer it inside of you, and then you're pregnant. Of course, again, that's the easy explanation, but it's not that simple. So another question, common question is, how is this different from IUI, or what is IUI? So IUI is intrauterine insemination, and that one is pretty different. I know there's a lot of similarities in it, but basically with this one, they don't actually take out your eggs, they just leave them be. So this one is a little bit more similar to having regular intercourse and getting pregnant the more traditional way, because with this one they do give you medication. I'm not like super educated on that, only because that's not the route that we took, but I do know that basically with IUI they take the sperm and then they inject that into your uterus during ovulation, and you pray that you get pregnant. The egg gets fertilized once it comes down, and that you get pregnant. So that's really the difference, as opposed to taking out your eggs and doing this and doing that and then putting it back in there. You know, it's just a shorter process. Another question was, is there a chance for twins? So yes and no. A lot of people, like, there's been this stigma around IVF that, oh, if you do IVF, like, you're gonna have twins or you're gonna have multiples, and that's not so true. Where that stigma came from is more so based on, I feel like this was previously, before there was like genetic testing and stuff, but before you had the option, and you still do, number one, depending on your doctor, and number two, depending whether you're doing genetic testing or not. But before, there was an option where you can choose to have more than one embryo transferred back into you, which in that instance, if they both stick, you have twins. Or if you do 3 at a time, you could have triplets, which isn't very common and not very safe. But That's where that idea came from. But now with PGTA testing, genetic testing, they don't recommend it, because the main reason why they do the genetic testing is because, one, they're able to check the chromosomes, which they can tell you, okay, I mean, it's like, I forgot what the percentage is, like maybe 90% accurate. It's pretty high, but they can tell you, okay, this specific embryo is healthy. So when you have a healthy embryo, the chances of miscarriage or losing the baby are a lot lower. I learned during this process that the reason for a lot of miscarriages is due to the fact that that embryo was like had missing chromosomes, or maybe had extra chromosomes, or just wasn't chromosomally normal, which is what caused the miscarriage. So that's why they say if you're doing genetic testing, you really don't have to do two embryos at once, because your chance of getting pregnant with just that one are a lot higher. So answer to the question, chance of twins that way is very, very low, obviously, but there's like a 3, don't quote me on this, but it's a very, very, very low chance for you to have twins even with just one embryo being transferred, just because that one embryo could split into 2 and then they can turn into twins that way. But again, the chance of that happening is very low. Next question was, do you have to be a certain weight? And sorry if this is like all over the place. I just like wrote down all the questions. Do you have to be a certain weight? I don't even know if I should answer this question, because every doctor is different. I went, and I don't remember if I kept these clips in, but I went to a total of 3 fertility doctors during this whole journey. The first 2 could give a shit about my weight. Literally, like, to them, the first doctor didn't even bring it up. The second doctor, I brought it up to him, and he was like, oh no, that's not going to be an issue at all. Like, you'll be fine. We'll get you pregnant, whatever. The third doctor, which is my current doctor, she was like, yeah, girly, we got to get that weight down. Now, as far as you being a specific weight, again, that might also depend on each doctor, but my doctor, not so much her, but like the anesthesiologist, did prefer for my BMI to be under 40, which honestly, I never got to. But they do certain exceptions where if your BMI, I think, is below 43, they'll still do it. But of course, that's when you have to go in and they have to like look at you, check you, make sure that you're healthy enough to go under anesthesia. So yeah, answer to that question really is just, it's based on your doctor. My biggest thing, like I talked about in my first video, was that I have a lot of muscle. If I were to tell you guys how much I weighed, a lot of people wouldn't believe it, because I don't even believe it, girl. I'm just like, I'm a skinny queen. Yeah, I just like, that's my biggest thing, is that I have so much muscle, especially on my legs, because I've lifted weights for so many years. So I don't look the weight that I am. But anyways, talk to your doctor, ask your doctor, just to be safe. But also, of course, losing weight helps the chance of pregnancy and helps you have a healthier pregnancy. But at the same time, just like I said in my first video, there's so many overweight people who get pregnant easily, who have a beautiful, healthy pregnancy, no complications whatsoever. So it really just depends on your body. It depends on all of that, you know? So yeah, I mean, do it, girl. I'm doing it. Okay, so next question was the price or cost of IVF. So this is also another tricky question, because we were blessed enough with my insurance from my job that they actually cover fertility procedures or like with costs for fertility treatments. So with us specifically, we only had to pay $3,000 out of pocket, which obviously isn't only. I should not say only, girl, because $3,000 is a lot of money, but it's a lot less compared to, like, typically IVF, okay, is usually between $17,000 to $30,000, and that's just the average. Of course, God forbid, but it does happen for some people. If it doesn't work on the first try, you got to go in for round 2. If it doesn't work for round 2, some people go in for round 3. So it's very expensive. I want to say, like, maybe it might just be like the IVF process itself is maybe 17, roughly around there, and then medication, I will tell y'all, because I was able to see, like, through the pharmacy app, before my insurance, like, accepted the, I don't know, whatever, before it showed that my insurance covered it, my medication, like the first injections, that stuff was like almost $5,000, and that was literally for like one delivery. So if I would have needed refills, that would have been literally like another $4,000. And again, that's just for the first set of medications, like the first the 3 injections plus the trigger shot, right? So that's almost $5,000. That's crazy. But yeah, so it is pretty expensive. Honestly, Google will tell you everything, but just from based off of our experience, we do have progeny insurance, and again, it's through my employer. I've tried to see if you can purchase it separately, like, you know how you can just get like regular health insurance through like healthcare.gov or whatever. And I tried to go to progeny, the progeny website, but I really think I could only see like, oh, through your employer. So honestly, I have recommended to our friends and to people that, you know, have asked about it, bank jobs and tech jobs are really good with fertility coverage. Because even at the last bank I worked at, they didn't have progeny. Theirs was fertility. Oh man, hold on. The one from my last job was called Win Fertility. And they covered, I think, up to $30,000, but same thing with that, you just have to pay like your maximum out of pocket, and then they cover the rest of it. But yeah, so just if you're looking into it, honestly, like, I know your job is your happy place, whatever, but when it comes to this, I think even Starbucks, from what I've seen, like even as part-time employees, they have really good fertility benefits. So just try your best, is my recommendation, to try and find coverage from insurance, because that, I promise you, it will be your best friend. And it has literally been our saving grace that I have this insurance. Like, it is such a blessing. And they cover the sperm purchases, they cover literally the entire procedure, like literally the whole process. All we paid was just the $3,000, and that was including like visits from my regular PCP. Like, I just had to pay my maximum out of pocket, and then they covered the rest. Like, it's, oh my god, it's been a blessing. But anyways, moving on. Egg retrieval time. Oh yeah, so I said that already. It's literally a 15-minute process. It's super quick in and out. It looks like I went over all of the questions. But yeah, so that's basically it. If y'all have any more questions, please feel free to comment down below. Message me on Instagram, message me on TikTok, message me on wherever you have me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I promise you I am an open book. I'm not a gatekeeper. I do not keep things to myself. I am so open and honest with you guys. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for joining us again on this journey. It has been truly such a blessing. But thank you guys. Bye.